This is the image that caused a stir in the Japanese online community, while the communities in other countries and the West extensively debated it. Why is that? The person on the right is Liu Jintong, Director General of the Department of Asian Affairs at the Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs, wearing an outfit styled after the youth of the May 4th movement era. On the left is Mr. Masaki Kanai, Director General of the Asian and Oceanian Affairs Bureau at the Japanese Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Although the two are counterparts, it is not difficult to notice the extraordinarily contrasting attitudes and gestures of the two sides. Mr. Liu Jintong had his hand in his pocket, with an expression that the online community deemed superior and provocative. Meanwhile, Mr. Masaki Kanai was considered to have a slightly submissive demeanor, constantly bowing when speaking with the Chinese diplomat. At the consultation held on November 18th in Beijing, the Chinese side requested that Japan take corrective action following the statement by Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi. At the regular press briefing on the afternoon of November 18th, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning announced information regarding the consultation between the Director General of the Department of Asian Affairs and the Director General of the Asian and Oceanian Affairs Bureau of the Japanese Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Kanai Masaki. According to Ms. Mao Ning, the Chinese representative once again expressed a firm stance, strongly opposing the remarks made by Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi regarding China. She further emphasized that these incorrect statements seriously violated international law and the basic norms of international relations, undermining world order and going against the One China principle and the spirit of the four political documents between the two countries. The Chinese side believes that these statements have seriously damaged the political foundation of the China-Japan relationship, causing negative impacts and leading to great dissatisfaction among the Chinese public. Ms. Mao Ning stressed that China demands the Japanese side immediately withdraw the incorrect statements and cease all actions that further complicate issues related to China. Concurrently, Japan needs to take practical measures to correct its mistakes, contributing to the consolidation of the political foundation for the bilateral relationship. It was noted that Mr. Kanai Masaki and the Japanese delegation left the headquarters of the Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs at approximately 2 p.m. on November 19th, while refusing to answer interviews regarding the consultation issues. According to an analysis from Kyodo News, the Japanese side may have disagreed with China's request for Prime Minister Takaichi to retract her statement. Therefore, whether the consultation can break the deadlock in bilateral relations remains uncertain. The visit is considered a Japanese effort to de-escalate rising tensions with China. Mr. Kanai was expected to present to the Chinese side that Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi's recent statement regarding the emergency situation in North Korea does not represent a change in Japan's security policy. Mr. Kanai would also call on Beijing to refrain from actions that could harm bilateral relations, as well as people-to-people exchanges between the two countries. The Japanese envoy was expected to strongly protest a recent social media post by the Chinese Consul General in Osaka, which contained threatening language aimed at Prime Minister Takaichi's remarks. The post has since been deleted, and controversy erupted because of the picture mentioned above. If summarized, we will have only two major streams of opinion drawn from this picture. The first is the case where China is considered to be in a superior position, and the Japanese delegation is the one forced to de-escalate the situation with China. The second opinion is that the inherent politeness of the Japanese people and the fact that China Central Television, CCTV, intentionally broadcasted this footage after the meeting seems to be part of a propaganda campaign aimed at proving that China is controlling the situation. His Mao-style outfit also conveyed a patriotic message, and right at that moment, Mr. Kanai Masaki was bowing his head to listen to the interpreter, which is customary. Every action and gesture in diplomacy always carries a purpose. The truth of this meeting is perhaps something we will never know, but public analysis will always be generated. A segment began to analyze the politeness, bordering on being pretentious, of Mr. Kanai Masaki and the entire Japanese culture. When interacting with Chinese or Korean people, we see them getting heated, being loud, and arguing fiercely. But the good thing is that they are also easily swayed, and after the fit of anger, they can return to the negotiating table. That character is transparent and direct, but the Japanese are an entirely different case. What makes the Japanese difficult to understand is their extreme politeness in communication. They almost never raise their voices or show anger externally. They use gentle words and polite bows, but hidden behind that attitude is an unchangeable firmness. When the Japanese refuse, they do so with certainty and great delicacy, but the result is absolute. They will not change their proposal or decision. No is no, and it will always be that way. Observers suggest that the Japanese use politeness and courtesy to create an invisible wall in negotiations. The opponent does not have the opportunity to use emotion or anger to put pressure or change the situation. They face courtesy but run into a hard rock underneath. In negotiations, the Japanese always demonstrate perfection, courtesy, politeness, and respect. But they have calculated their interests and limits long before sitting down at the table. Meetings with the Japanese are often a series of predetermined steps. Their firmness is not temporary stubbornness, but the result of a collective, meticulous, and strict calculation process down to the smallest detail. They have anticipated every scenario and do not allow emotions to interfere. And what about the Chinese side? The fact, confirmed by a reporter at the scene, is that Mr. Kanai was only tilting his head to listen to the interpreter standing close by, and it was absolutely not a diplomatic bow. However, the purposeful camera angle and editing by Chinese media made the image look as if the Japanese side was humbling itself. This was a calculated propaganda move, intended to emphasize China's superiority during escalating diplomatic tensions between the two countries. Opinions on this side argue that everything started from the strong, this time too strong, articulation of the stance by Japanese Prime Minister Takaichi Sane. Her tough remarks involved Taiwan and implied a warning of military retaliation if any country caused an existential threat to Japan. Then, Chinese officials retaliated against Ms. Takaichi, and the domino chain was activated from there. Tensions between China and Japan, which were already escalating, are now hotter, and the possibility of conflict in the Northeast Asian region is becoming increasingly real. And now the Japanese side has to travel to Beijing, an action considered to be the underdog, as the Japanese must go to the Chinese territory to negotiate and ease the situation. Coupled with the image of the Chinese representative with his hands in his pockets, looking very commanding, while the Japanese representative bows down to listen, people increasingly believe this opinion. All these events reflect a complex situation, exemplified by the dilemma Prime Minister Takaichi Sane faced in just 2 weeks. The diplomatic atmosphere between Japan and China has shifted from being cordial to being taut as a wire. The friendly handshake between Japanese Prime Minister Sane Takaichi and Chinese President Xi Jinping at the APEC summit at the end of October quickly gave way to a wave of fierce criticism, retaliatory moves, and tense security warnings between Asia's two largest economies. The flashpoint of the tension was Prime Minister Takaichi's statement before the Japanese parliament on November 7th, when she commented that if China attacked Taiwan, Tokyo might consider it an existential threat to Japan and contemplate a military response. Chinese newspapers accused Ms. Takaichi of causing instability and warned that if Japan intervened in the Taiwan Strait, China would deliver a direct blow. An account associated with the PLA on X also posted a comment in Japanese, warning that Tokyo would pay a heavy price. Although Ms. Takaichi said her previous statement was only hypothetical and committed to avoiding repetition in Parliament, she is walking the tightrope that every Japanese prime minister must balance. China remains Japan's largest trading partner, at a time when the Tokyo economy is facing many difficulties. Beijing's travel warning may not immediately disrupt the flow of visitors, but it is a clear signal that China is willing to use economic leverage. This puts Ms. Takaichi in an awkward position. If she is too tough, Japan faces the risk of economic damage, but if she is too soft, she is easily criticized domestically for lacking a strong security stance. Meanwhile, Ms. Takaichi is a staunch conservative figure, following the line of the late Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, supporting the strengthening of national defense capabilities and repeatedly criticizing China's increasing military activities in the region. This deadlock was evident in the meeting between her and President Xi Jinping on the sidelines of the APEC summit in late October. The two leaders agreed to promote a strategically beneficial relationship, but Takaichi also raised hot issues, such as China's activities in the East China Sea, where the two countries have territorial disputes.